LoreWarrior Armour. The Alacorn Mark 6 Heavy Tank. Overview. New Earth Trading Company would deliver the first Alacorns to the original SLDF in 2587. These machines were deployed in the periphery, where the Alacorn earned a reputation as a dependable and effective tank, and General Alexander Kerensky allegedly took hundreds of Alacorns with him during his exodus. New Earth Trading Company would continue producing Alacorns until the start of the Second Succession War, when a shortage of XL engines and Gauss rifles would halt production. Recently, though, NETC has resurrected the design, and the first of these new Alacorns reached Federated Commonwealth units in 3055. Capabilities. An XL fusion engine makes the Alacorn fast enough to keep up with most assault mechs while preserving enough weight to mount substantial weapon systems and armour. 3 Gauss rifles mounted on a turret with 5 tons of ammunition give the Alacorn devastating firepower and allow it to stay in combat for extended periods of time. 13 tons of armour provide the tank with excellent protection, the front of it alone being protected by 3 tons of armour, making the Alacorn more heavily armoured than the Rommel and von Luckner tanks. Such speed and armour protection comes with a price, though. The suspension system suffers considerable stress when 95 tons of charging vehicle make a 90-degree turn at 54 kph. To keep the vehicle working properly, tank crews must constantly check the track tension. If the track is too loose, the tank will shear its treads off on the first hard turn. If it's too tight, the road wheels and other suspension systems are liable to be damaged, or even destroyed. Adjusting track tension is pretty easy. The crew runs a taut string from the idler wheel in the front to the top of the drive sprocket. The tread hangs in a shallow arc under the string, and if the lowest point of the arc is between 40 and 65 mm under the string, then the track is properly adjusted. Official gauges and rulers were issued to Alacorn crews to help make these measurements, but troopers frequently misplace them in the field, and the tank crew then come up with an ingenious expedient, using the popular Pharaoh beer produced by a Federated Sons brewing company. Pharaoh beer is packaged in an unusual container that's shaped like a truncated pyramid, exactly 40 mm wide at the top and 65 mm wide at the base. Most Alacorn crew use these widely available cans as gauges to measure the critical distance when checking track tension. Because the internal pressure caused by the beverage inside the container slightly distorts its shape, however, only a few and newly emptied Pharaoh guarantees proper measurement. Not surprisingly then, Alacorn tank crews perform track maintenance frequently and thoroughly. Deployment. As of today, most of the Alacorn variants are deployed with Davian and Lyran forces throughout the Ionosphere, with the new SLDF possessing several Mark 7s. Smaller numbers of Mark 6s, the favourite of many mercenary units, started to appear in the DCMS as well as the CCAF and even amongst the ranks of the Novacat. Additionally, it can be taken for granted that from the pile that Comguards have, they have several of these machines and have proliferated throughout the Word of Blake. Variants. Prior to the invention of the Gauss rifle, which allowed the now infamous Mark 6, NETC has already burned through several prototypes of Alacorns, all of them mediocre at best. Nevertheless, 2 of these designs made it into small production runs. A Mark 3 with triple AC-10s, followed shortly by the Mark 4 that carried the then ultimate payload of 3 AC-20s. From then on, though, Alacorns constantly stood for pinnacle of technology and best punch at furthest range. As such, NETC's rollout of the Mark 7 armed with 2 brand new heavy Gauss rifles was a logical conclusion, and came as no surprise to anyone. Notable crews. Sergeant Matthew Geiger. The most recent appearance of this urban legend places Sergeant Geiger and his crew in the toll of tragic heroes defending a hospital or an orphanage against the onslaught of the Word of Blake. They fought to the last bullet and then kept on shooting, feeding the barrels with various metallic material they found, and at the end, even their own cans of Pharaoh beer. All details of the battle depend naturally on who's telling the story. Corporal Rudolf Layback. Assistant to a company's quartermaster in the 21st Centauri Lancers, Corporal Layback has a towing hook installed on his Alacorn for requisitioning purposes, as he claims. So the Alacorn is another 95-ton vehicle that's tracked. It has a Pitman 285XL engine, giving it a speed of 32 kph and 54 flank. Its armour is Stargard Type VH. Its armament is triple North Storm Model 7D Gauss rifles, manufactured by the New Earth Trading Company on New Earth. Its communication system is the Series Recon Model 21RS, and its targeting and tracking is the Thahi's Digital Scanlock 347. As usual, this translates into 305 movement with 10 heat sinks, which is more than enough, obviously, for 3 Gauss rifles anyway, and it has armour of 50 on the front, 40 on the sides, 28 on the rear, and 50 on the turret. It has triple Gauss rifles in the turret with 40 shots overall. And that's it, that's all you really need. It's a big, brutal bastard. I didn't do the original 3058 write-up because it was exactly the same in the upgrade version, and the upgrade version at least has notable crews and a couple of variants. Yeah, it's a big, nasty machine, and it's outside of, you know, large-scale battles where you can deploy multiple vehicles, but, you know, you're talking about, like, battalion-level engagements that, obviously, some people do on the table. This is a really, really deadly thing. This is the kind of thing you bring in to punish the players if they've been acting assholes at the table, or you bring it in as just, like, the absolute end-of-campaign type level threat. You know, it's something that any single hit from this vehicle is a bit of a, you know, a warrior. 2 hits from this vehicle is definitely going to start making you sweat, and 3 hits is just going to have you breaking down at the table, because this thing is brutal. A 45-point alpha for 0 heat generation on the vehicle side anyway, and then factoring in the armor it's more than enough to absorb return fire. And yeah, it's scary. And the fact that there's a Mark 7 that mounts 2 heavy Gauss rifles, a 50-point alpha, is just absolutely brutal. Yeah, the Alacorn is just, it's simple. It's the power gamer's wet dream. And honestly, a bunch of these things rolling around, even clan pilots would probably have a bit of a pause for thought before they decided to engage. Yeah, definitely one of the least intimidating looking vehicles, but definitely is one of the ones that makes people sit up and pay attention when it arrives on the field. It's not a bad looking vehicle either. The triple Gauss rifles, the art makes them look like they're kind of angled at the front of the barrel. It's a bit strange, at least in the 3058 book. I don't think is it any different in the original? No, it's the same art in the original. Yeah, it's there's not really much else to say about it, is there, really? It's I would possibly use it as something that was maybe something that the players would have to find one that's been abandoned or has been disabled, and they need to go and recover it, so they have to secure the area, that kind of thing. Or it's, let's see, top of my head, see if we can think of something here. It's a vehicle that has to be transported for like a periphery, like some tin pot dictator on a single periphery world. He's got one. It's his pride and joy, and you're transporting it for him to go to his I don't know, like his private presidential palace or something. Yeah, something stupid like that. And yeah, it comes under attack, and you know the players have to use the vehicle to defend against bandits or revolutionaries, or you know, like people trying to steal it, whatever, that kind of thing. It's yeah, it's definitely got uses, and I can't think of any other real creative ways to bring this thing in. If you wanted to use it for the players, either as an opponent, as I said, it's end of campaign type stuff. It's up there with the Ontos and the Challenger. I mean, any of these kind of 90 to 100 ton tanks are just really scary, and you have to weigh up, if you are bringing one or more of these things onto the table, what other factors you're sort of bringing into this, like, because obviously with the rules of tanks, they can fire all their weapons and they don't worry about overheating, so being able to just have something that can fire all 3 Gauss rifles every turn without any issues is a big deal. So unless you're going to do it and the crew have got really low gunnery, like 5 or even 6s, just to try and give the players a slightly better chance of survival, or you're bringing the players in and you've got a load of NPC friendly forces that the Alacorns are firing at instead of the players most of the time. That's the best I can come up with that. It's justifiably difficult to bring onto a small kind of table because it's so friggin' terrifying unless all the players are in assault mechs. And I guess you could do it every turn you're firing at a different target, so you're spreading the damage. But yeah, I mean, a lone Alacorn isn't going to be on the field like that. It's going to have other vehicles with it as well, so that's the other factor. It's going to be part of a heavier assault lance of vehicles. So yeah, you've got to factor in how many players you've got, what vehicles they have, or what mechs they're using, and then other elements. And yeah, it's a tough one, but yeah, the Alacorn it represents the last of the 3058 TRO entries anyway. So that means we'll be going exclusively over to 3060 vehicles now. I might get back to doing some of the vehicle annex though, some of the civilian stuff as well, just to sort of freshen it up. But we'll be getting back to those 3060 era mechs, which we all know and love for their brilliant artwork. And yeah, so there's new vehicles and stuff in the 3060 book as well, so we'll be getting over to those. So thanks for listening, as always. Have a good week, and I will catch you all on the next one. Bye-bye.